Film Club.
Okay. Pronounce the guy's name who has recommended this film to us.
End to the power of N, I said last time.
Thank you very much for joining us in an episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison. To my right, as always, it's Andy Donaldson.
A to the power of A.
Oh, I like that. We should change the channel name again.
Again.
Every single week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us. We dive into some of cinema's best before coming back here to talk it out. Andy, this week a recommendation comes to us from a guy we have started calling N to the power of N, apparently.
You see his name there. Yes, it is Manhunter. Not Manhunters, Manhunter.
Yeah, I know it's at the end of the last episode. I was like, I said Manhunter.
Silly Billy.
Sorry. This is Manhunter, which is...
Based off the Red Dragon novel.
Yeah. So give us a rundown. What is Manhunter about for anybody who doesn't know?
Red Dragon by Thomas Harris, by the way. So those who know Silence of the Lambs, it's the same series. It's like the whole Hannibal Lecter kind of series. It's about a retired profiler, FBI profiler called Will Graham, coming out of retirement because there's a new killer in, and his old senior, Jack, what's his name? Jack Crawford. He asked him to come back just to do it because Will Graham's like really good at getting into it, but he had a really bad experience where he obviously caught Lecter and Lecter tried to kill him. Anyway, so he does his job to find this Tooth Fairy killer, who is Frank Darabont, is that right? Dolarhyde, sorry, Dolarhyde.
Yeah, Dolarhyde.
Yeah, so it's basically like it's a kind of a suspense crime sort of thing. Will Graham though, and what's interesting is I've seen Silence of the Lambs, I've seen the Red Dragon 2002 version, I've seen the TV series of Hannibal, really good version of Will Graham there, but I feel that this is the best portrayal of Will Graham, this or the TV series.
So...
it's Brian Cox, by the way, as Hannibal Lecter, who's not in it that much.
He's not,
but in those moments, he's very good.
He's very good. But I tell you what this did for me actually a little bit. Can we talk about we'll start on Lecter because it's such a small little part.
Yeah, let's do it.
What that did for me, I really enjoyed it. I really, really did enjoy it. But what it also did was really heighten Anthony Hopkins' performance for me. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. Nothing against Brian Cox's performance, but you look at him and you see this guy as an intellectual. He's someone who knows Will Graham well. Listen to the dialogue. It's really well written in that respect. The conversations go back and forth and little things that he does to get his number. And you think, it's quite cool. You know, Lecter's like quite sinister. You only see him for a bit. Then you look at Hopkins. You look at the faces he does, that stare, the way he does his posture. It's like that. And you're like, fuck. So, I'm glad you said that because I agree. Everything about this, what I was going to say is everything about this film is better than the 2002 version, with the exception of Lecter and Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, and
so yeah.
So this comes from, I think we want to put this out there because it's relevant to what we've done recently. This is a Michael Mann film, and we just did 2 weeks ago.
Heat.
Yeah. And actually in Heat, we were talking a little bit, I think this is what prompted NNNN to recommend this film because it was pre that, but anyway. It was what struck me in Heat was that I couldn't quite put a finger on Michael Mann's style, but we actually kind of fell onto it a little bit. And one of the things that I found interesting as a recurring element in this is that Relentless soundtrack.
Yes, I actually love the soundtrack. So I was reading up it actually when it initially came out. It was a bit of not a flop, but critics were pretty harsh to it like this, and then it was a sleeper hit. Is that what you call it? Over the years.
Yeah, a cult classic.
Sorry. So obviously they're saying there with stuff like Silence of the Lambs, how well that did, with stuff like CSI. This came back and people said, you know what, it's actually a really fucking good film. But going back to what you said about the soundtrack, that was one of the things that people slayed it for. I loved it. I'm not going to lie, I loved it. There's times where it fades in, fades out that's not amazing, but I'm just like, you know what, I don't care. It's just 80s as fuck. And especially that last moment, that you got the massive reverb, the lovely kind of heartfelt vocals, and then you got that awesome deep jazz bass. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that song of Halo. I can't remember which one. It's Two Betrayals, I think it's called. And he's got this amazing bass coming. You guys, Halo fans, will know which song I'm on about. It's unreal. Yeah. And it's probably 80s with a snare and stuff.
And that whole the 80s aesthetic to everything is magnificent.
Yeah, even the way it looks.
This is what I think it was so thoroughly. Do you remember when we talked about Heat? I was talking about how I couldn't quite. there was something a little bit meandery about it, and I think I figured it out. It's what when I feel like Michael Mann fell in between both the kind of melodramatic 80s style and the grittier, more realistic route he was gonna go down.
Yep.
This is like pure 80s. This is the most 80s thing I've ever seen.
I feel like this is more 80s than Top Gun.
And it's fantastic.
It's so good. I love it, yeah.
With Top Gun, actually, if anyone's seen our Top Gun episode, and you go back and we were not keen on Top Gun, and part of that,
I feel like I should watch it again.
I was worried about the fact that it was. I think you liked it more than I did.
Yeah.
Part of that was that I think I was slightly worried that I wasn't enjoying the 80s aesthetic and the 80s aesthetic had aged. No, screw that. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so much like it's so kind of self-aware and stylistic and overtly over-dramatic at times.
It's not 80s like something like Terminator 2, which is a very 80s film. This is 80s, and it's very self-aware that it's 80s.
It's almost pulpy.
Yeah. And there's many different factors about it that attribute to the 80s kind of feel, like the soundtrack, the visuals, even the the exaggerated kind of bits here and there.
Yeah, and it makes it feel. I think the best analogy I can give anybody that hasn't seen this yet is it feels somewhere between Twin Peaks and Dirty Harry.
I can't say that. I haven't seen Twin Peaks, and I don't think I've seen Dirty Harry. Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one for the thing.
Feeling lucky?
Punk.
Are you feeling lucky, punk?
There we go. I know that.
But then also, right, so we're talking about being 80s, but then lather on this layer of like neo-noir because there's all this cool stuff, especially early on, where like they're creeping around the dark, and you've got this like detective who's going on this case that he hasn't quite figured out the depths of it yet.
And even that towards the end scene where it's just all in the woods, it's all dark, turn the lights off. Unreal.
Yep.
Unreal.
So it's a beautiful film that also at times is kind of ugly, but ugly works for it. So we're talking what you were talking about earlier with those scenes where it's completely saturated in color. Like the stuff where it's like I think they're in bed at one point. It's the image is just blue. The whole scene is just blue.
Yeah.
And then he's in a hotel room, I want to say. I can't quite remember, and you'll see it down here. But it's orange, completely orange. And that kind of works for it in lots of respects. It adds to that almost synth pop melodramatic thing that's going for it.
The charm of the film.
Yeah.
What did you think about the acting?
So who are we talking about?
Well,
There's one that I definitely want to talk about.
Go on.
Tom fucking Noonan.
Tom Noonan.
Tom fucking Noonan.
Oh, yeah. Do you know he's a Anomalisa?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we haven't seen him. I think we did this afterwards. Synecdoche, New York.
Yeah. He's the director, isn't he?
No.
No, that's Seymour Hoffman, isn't it? No, he portrays.
no.
He's the person who tries to be the director. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah. Sorry,
yep,
my bad.
yep.
He was awesome.
Yeah, he's so good.
He's
From the
sinister.
moment he turns up.
He's
and
just
got
scared.
that-
It's his face, isn't it? It's like,
and he's wearing that weird thing
oh
where it's
no,
like it cuts
that would
over.
creep me
his-
out. It's just all it's the tights on his head.
Bizarre.
I know.
But then he goes through this arc of becoming sympathetic in lots of ways.
Yeah.
And then after that, he transitions back to being scary.
Yeah. And then it's just that
Tom
amazing
Noonan.
scene. Even just the way he just brushes his hand across the or in the car and he grabs it and stuff like that. It's just
The awkwardness when he first meets the photographer lady, when somebody else walks in the room with him and stuff, and him saying, "Oh, I love it. I love this. That performance is so good."
Tom Noonan's great. What did you think of Will Graham? In this case, it was William Peterson.
I think it's a strong performance. It didn't quite grab me the way that like Tom Noonan's did, because Tom Noonan gets to play a character. He gets to play a real sort of a character role, something where he gets to kind of chew the scenery a little bit.
Yep.
He gets a difficult job of like having to be more relatable, but having this really impressive like he's having like this almost breakdown because he for some reason almost absorbs the mind of the person he's trying to hunt down.
That's Will Graham. Exactly.
And it's
he does so
fantastic.
well. So I would say about the acting, like he does it. Peterson does a really good job of doing Will Graham, and it's weird because my thoughts on Will Graham are actually after this film, weirdly. So maybe the performances are based off this, but when I think of Will Graham, especially some like a TV series, when I think of an FBI profile and stuff like that, you've got your CSI. I'm not really seeing much of, but a really good TV series called Mindhunters.
Yeah, the David Fincher thing.
unreal. By the way, if you ever get a chance, watch it. Series 2's out soon. And you see the profile, and you see they've almost got like kind of sociopathic tendencies, and the way they can get in the head, and that's Will Graham for you. He's a sympathetic profiler with like, and it's the way he's like, you bitch and all this. He's getting angry and he's looking at himself, and it's just like this. And the way he's wrote there, the way he's portrayed and everything like that, I'm right behind Michael Mann. I'm right behind William Peterson, and that's what won it for me. And I was like, because unfortunately, the for the first maybe half, if not 2/3 of this film, I knew what was going to happen because I've seen Red Dragon 2002. Because it's quite a close thing. Like a great scene is the wheelchair scene. Yeah, terrifying. Yeah, but I knew what was going to happen, so I didn't have.
Do you see?
Yeah, I didn't have that. Like it was, it was great to watch, but I didn't have that thing. But what struck me was like, well, hold on. I mean, Edward Norton's in the 2002 version, and Edward Norton's great. I like Edward Norton. Like American History X, unreal. But in 2002 version, I don't think he quite cut it for me. I was a bit like a bland character. I mean, obviously Hopkins stole the show and other factors of the film. Yeah. Sorry, I can't help but compare because my experience is watching Red Dragon and then watching this. But with this, yes, Tom Noonan stole the show, but also the William Peterson. For me, it was something I latched onto. Yeah. And then I was. So who plays the victim at the end?
Oh, the girl, the blind girl.
Yeah, Molly Graham, Kim Grist. I don't know how to pronounce it. She was great throughout because again comparisons to Red Dragon and stuff like that. She was great, like the parts leading up to it. The parts where they're together and everything like that. Then almost at the end, she did something when she couldn't see in the dark. It's like, where are you? And I was like, oh god, you had this really good role. And everything was good, but then I saw right through her acting ability, and I was just like, I can't empathize with your being scared and everything. I was a bit lost there, and I was like, that's just a shame because she did really well at the start.
Which that actually brings us into maybe one of the weirdest bits of the whole film, where suddenly the editing gets experimental during
what the hell?
The final
That's
sequence.
Weird. I don't understand that. I thought it was my stream that was weird.
So it's so odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, but again, this film by this point had won me over so much that I was completely on board with it. I was like,
I would say on board. I was just like, fair.
I was like, you have fun with that. You play around with it. You do whatever the heck you want here. And then one last thing I want to bring up, tying it back to this being the most 80s thing I've ever seen, it ends on a freeze frame. And it was delightful.
It was awesome, wasn't it? It was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed that because it was a great silhouetted shot as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, just them looking out.
Oh my, it was like so 80s with that pulsating bass rhythm going boom, boom, boom,
song
boom.
at the end.
I know. Oh my days.
Do you know what? We have had this continuous run of people who subscribe to the channel and people who comment on the channel saying like, "Oh, watch this film."
I don't think we've had a bad recommendation.
We have never had a bad recommendation.
Oh, we have one off Natalie, which was Mothman.
She doesn't count. She wasn't a commenter. I somehow chose to marry that.
Oh, I need to marry that. I need to shout out on I saw a comment not far back when we watched There Would Be Blood, and it's our mate Rob. He was like, "Oh shit, choose the shout out." Rob, there's your shout out, mate. Don't cry. But yeah,
shout out to NNNNNNN because this was absolutely out of left field and
so
delightful.
It
was absolutely delightful.
Yeah,
which is weird considering that
it's quite suspense and everything.
So anyway, there is Manhunter. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of Manhunter, or you can hit us up on Twitter, as always. But we are going to be back once again next week where we're taking another recommendation. And I can't remember off the top of my head the guy's name, but you will see it right here on screen. And we're taking a look at AHAI.
Yes, I'm looking forward to watching this again.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched it.
Yeah, we've got actually a lot to speak about this as well.
I think you and I watched it together originally. Back when we were wee youngsters.
Oh yeah,
and we were like,
you remember
we could be that boy.
I had like 20 DVDs, and I just used to rewatch them, and this was one of them.
And you're like, I feel like the little boy in the show. I want to get drowned by a robot.
Spoilers.
Till then, get watching.
Cheers.